Now, we're looking at Magistral, and we see the subtext prostate health. Now, typically, you'll see this for men only. Now, here's a surprise. If you really get into the research about components and what they do, you'll see that perhaps it's not just men that will feel the benefits of this product. But let's take a closer look at men. Let's look at a man's anatomy. And here we see a cross section of the male anatomy. See the bladder, the penis, urethra, the testicle, and there we see the prostate gland, that little walnut-sized thing at the base of the bladder. That is your prostate. Now, the formal indications for Magistral is for use in prostatic hypertrophy, which is just another word for an enlarged prostate. Now, please keep in mind that we're not talking about prostate cancer. We're talking about an enlarged prostate. So there are secondary benefits that you can find out about if you start doing your homework, and those may include things like erectile dysfunction, cleansing of the urine, and others. But please remember, these other indications do not show up in our claims. These are secondary theoretical benefits based on the current literature. So let's see how this works. The prostate is a gland that surrounds the urethra, that little tube that drains the bladder. The urethra takes urine from the bladder and drains it into the penis, and you eliminate the urine from your body. Now, you'll see in the figure on the left how the urine needs to pass through the prostate before being eliminated. Now, you could start to see now what happens when this donut-shaped glands get swollen or enlarged. Not only does it get bigger outwards, it also gets bigger inwards. And that squeezes on the little tube and tightens it up so the urine doesn't flow as easily through it. And that's how all the problems begin. Now, here's the issue. As Jorge mentioned, as we get older, the prostate gets bigger and bigger. Here are numbers to remember. Medical students love these numbers because they're easy to remember. 40% of 40-year-olds will have some signs of prostatic hypertrophy. 40% of 40-year-olds. 50% of 50-year-olds will have signs of prostatic hypertrophy, another easy number to remember. And finally, believe it or not, 80% of 80-year-olds will have evidence of a prostate problem. At this rate, one can consider an enlarged prostate a normal part of the aging process. And what are these guys feeling? Well, here's a list of potential symptoms to look out for. And many men aren't aware that some of these signs are potentially a big problem. So if you have any of these, or you see that your husband or boyfriend has any of these, go see a doctor. Because unfortunately, the same symptoms of an enlarged prostate are also symptoms of prostate cancer, and we need to differentiate between the two. So number one, no pun intended here, having to go more often. I mean, really having to go. Number two, frequent visits to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Three, You can't just stand 2 feet away from the bowl like you used to as a kid and reach the water. I mean, the strength of the stream is just not good enough. Wait, there's more. You may feel like you still have to pee even after you've finished. It may hurt to pee. Yeah, infection is a common consequence of prostatic hypertrophy. You may not be able to perform as well in bed. See, I told you this product is not just for men. And even worse, you may end up having accidents. Not fun. So to the rescue, Magistral. Now, Magistral has 5 different components. Most natural prostate formulas have only one. We have 5. Saw palmetto, ginkgo biloba, ginseng, damiana, and muira puama. Taking a closer look, damiana is a natural herb traditionally used for sexual vitality. Now, we don't overly advertise Magistral for that. Um, it also has antibacterial properties, which certainly comes to play in prostatic hypertrophy or an enlarged prostate. And although traditional medicines are interesting, there has to be research behind our products. And when you look up Damiana on the best medical research resource online, pubmed.gov, you'll find over 175 human studies on it. I remind you that it's human studies that carry the most weight. Ginkgo, there's one that you've all heard about in many applications, including male issues and even some for female issues. I need to mention that there are a couple of relative contraindications for ginkgo, but this is generally for much higher doses of ginkgo. Nevertheless, always check with your health professional, please. And again, research, well, a whopping almost 2,500 articles, human studies, I remind you again. Ginseng, again, very well recognized. Application studied for both men and women. Now, I want you to pay close attention what a ginseng root looks like. You see here the wonderful shapes that it can take on. Now, look at this. Often it takes the shape of a human being. And it's theorized that because it takes on these shapes, it was one of the reasons that our ancestors drew attention to it. Okay, I'll leave it up to your imagination as to what these ginseng roots look like. Just a hint, it has something to do with males. Finally, this one. It's a combination of a human body plus it's anatomically correct. Now, if you were a medicinal shaman 4,000 years ago, what would you use this for? Okay, back to science. It actually confirms what these ancient healers suspected. Wow, almost 4,000 articles, human studies on ginseng. Here we have Murapuama, another herbal gift from the Amazon, uh, used traditionally as an aphrodisiac, erectile dysfunctions, potency wood, and also used for menstrual irregularities. And although it's not as well understood as some of the other components, there are still almost 40 human studies published. And finally, the most important component of Magistral. Now, this is something that's well recognized by the medical community, and in Europe, many doctors recommend it. You see the leaf? That's where the name comes from. It looks like a circular saw blade, hence saw palmetto. Now, here's where Immunotec differs from Moat. I imagine marketing would refer to this as a USP, the unique selling proposition. Listen carefully. Saw palmetto also has berries, and it's the berries that contain the highest amount of the active ingredients. Immunotec only uses the berries and in a liquid form. This is a point of difference. Now, how do these active ingredients work? They are specific testosterone blockers, what we call a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. It blocks a type of testosterone called dihydrotestosterone. And what does this mean in simpler terms? It's the male hormones that cause the prostate to swell. By blocking these male hormones, you can reduce the swelling. And also, if you look up what the research demonstrates about this strategy regarding women, well, you'll find some interesting articles. So go to the research and you'll see that it is exquisitely investigated. So there we have it, a Magistral, a really well-researched group of components. And remember, Magistral has been on the market probably over 25 years and always has been so popular.